I am a changed man. I went on vacation for a week and a half, and I came back a trans woman. We're back, baby, better than ever. Got a little bit of color, but I look the same, don't I? Just 10 pounds heavier. 10 pounds heavier, but Patriots, I missed you. Where you been all my life? It's good to be back. It is very, very good to be back with all of you. My friends, we got a big show today. Big preparation. And damn, I missed a lot. What the hell happened, by the way? I leave. You guys are supposed to hold down the fort here along with Donald Trump. And everything's gone to hell. Just kidding. No, everything's better than ever, isn't it? And Trump is still killing it. Trump is still doing more than I asked for. I am getting more out of my vote than what was expected. I'm living the dream over here with Donald Trump as the president of the United States. But you got people, these activist judges, going in, blocking the president from doing the will of the American people. And that's what we're going to cover today, folks. And a couple of these titles are going to piss you off a little bit. They're going to make you a little upset because the Democrat Party, that's what they do. I don't know if you've caught on over the last decade or so, but this is what this party does. The Democrat Party goes against the will of the people, the American people, in favor of the will of everybody else, basically. Yeah, everybody else. So let's jump into this. I'm coming back yesterday, doing my thing, and I'm seeing, holy shit, there's these judges getting arrested. And then, you know, the Democrat Party, along with the mainstream media, comes out and puppets this whole charade of, he's going usurpacious, he's going authoritarian, he's going totalitarian, right? They start twitching. They start spazzing out a little bit. Well, we got this psycho here. FBI arrests Wisconsin judge and accuses her of obstructing immigration officials. The judges have gone rogue. The judges are now doing the will of the illegal aliens, I suppose. And on TikTok, on X, everybody was talking about this, and I want to make sure I break it down for all you fine people. So as you saw, make sure I get to my show notes here. There's this Judge Hannah Dugan, I believe is her last name. You guys can correct me on that. A Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge. Circuit Court Judge, been a week and a half, give me a break here, was arrested by the FBI on Friday morning. The charges, well, she faces federal charges for obstructing and proceeding and concealing an individual to prevent arrest. Now, here's the accusation. I'm giving you all the bullet points, the details. Dugan allegedly helped an illegal immigrant, Eduardo Flores Ruiz, evade arrest by federal immigration agents inside her courthouse. She did nothing wrong. Now innocent until proven guilty, isn't it? Well, here's the details of the actual incident, okay? Agents were trying to arrest Flores Ruiz inside the courtroom, okay? Dugan allegedly ordered the agents to leave because they didn't have a judge-signed warrant. She then escorted Flores Ruiz and his attorney through a private hallway to avoid ICE. And then she, I guess, walked away. I don't know, left the guy alone because he was later apprehended after a chase by agents, meaning they chased after him. What an ordeal in that courtroom. This is what these activist judges do, folks. They are insane. FBI and the Trump administration responded to all this with FBI Director Kash Patel, as you can imagine, one of the greats, where he is saying that Dugan intentionally misdirected agents. Now, Kash Patel is somebody that worked on behalf of the American people in the court system, so I tend to believe what this guy's saying. His head's on straight. Her actions put the public in increased danger and posted a photo of Dugan in handcuffs saying no one is above the law. But as you've seen, the Democrats have posted that, right? The Democrats were the ones that went out on social media when they were going after Donald Trump saying that he's a threat to democracy, a threat to the republic. He's destroying the Constitution, all this diarrhea stuff. And now that we're arresting these activist judges, now nobody's above the law anymore, or everybody's above the law. I don't know what they're saying. I'm confused just as much as all of you are, because you arrest somebody for going against the law, and they're upset that you arrested somebody for going against the law. But that's typical for Democrats. Remember when they were posting that? No one's above the law, blah, blah, blah. But yet they were not arresting anybody in these Democrat-ran areas for the smash and grabs, the murders, the looting, the arson, the burning down of buildings during Black Lives Matter. That's always the cliche one to go to because they burned $4 billion worth of private property. Nothing happened. I don't even think there was a single arrest, by the way. I don't think there still is a single arrest for that. Well, Trump reposted a photo of the judge wearing a KN95 mask and a Ukrainian trident symbol, mocking her on Truth Social. Whenever I see somebody wearing the pin of the Ukrainian flag, automatically tells me everything I need to know about that person. Well, the judge's response said from her attorney specifically that, quote, she wholeheartedly regrets and protests her arrest. She plans to, quote, vigorously defend herself and looks forward to being exonerated. Dugan claims she has always upheld the rule of law, and due process. Anybody actually believe that? I don't believe it. Now, the public and political response to this was bonkers. Like I said, everybody's talking about it. It's like, okay, a judge got arrested for breaking the law, allegedly. Innocent until proven guilty, but you still get arrested. Everybody's all up in arms. I'm sitting back and what the hell's going on? I just got home. A crowd protested outside the courthouse, chanting, free the judge now. You always get these people that are paid off in some way, shape, or form showing up. And some of them aren't paid off, to be fair. They're just out of their mind. Has anybody actually gone out and protested before? Nothing against you. But it would take a lot for me to leave my home and go out and protest with a bunch of people that are probably crazy. You've seen the on the street interviews. Look, it's for the right side as well. Look, these people are off their rockers, folks. They don't know what's going on. They can't tell the difference between their ass and their mouth. Milwaukee City Council criticized the FBI's action, accusing the Trump administration of, quote, here we go. It's always this, right? It's always weaponizing something. Weaponizing federal law enforcement against immigrants. But yet it wasn't the Democrat Party and Joe Biden not enforcing the immigration laws that are on the books. That wasn't weaponizing federal law enforcement. The reason why I'm saying weaponizing is because it was basically saying, hey, don't do your job, putting all of us in danger. And it's amazing because, I think we might get to it today. We'll see. But there's this new story, I suppose. I didn't do a lot of digging into it, of a little girl with cancer allegedly getting deported by the Trump administration. And the Democrat Party's all up in arms over it. The Democrat Party and the mainstream media are losing their minds going, how could Donald Trump deport a little 4-year-old girl that has cancer that's allegedly an American citizen, but her parents weren't? Have you ever thought that maybe the mom just wanted the daughter to go with her rather than leaving the daughter here by herself? So they just took them together. And just a question, Democrats, when did you start caring about children? Like, when did we turn the page on that one? Matter of fact, when did we close the previous book and open up a new one? Because you all love abortions. You had an RV outside your convention doing actual abortion. You had a murdering machine outside your convention doing abortions. Not to mention, you lost 340,000 children to forced labor and sex trafficking. When did you start liking children in the sense of that? We all know they always like children, right? Because they want to trans them and sell them off the forced labor and all this weirdo stuff. But all of a sudden now they're for keeping children safe. It's not your children, by the way. No, stop. Did you think that's what I meant? Patriots, did you think that's what I meant? By the way, I miss all you guys too. I'm reading the chat at the same time. You think the Democrat Party cares about your children? Come on. Oh boy. That's funny. The Democrat Party doesn't care anything. Their constituents is not those that voted for them. Give me a break. Come on, it's all the illegal immigrants in here. Come on. Well, Democrat senators like Tammy Baldwin called it a grave and drastic move. Bernie Sanders is in the mix because I guess he and AOC are running for 2028, it seems like. He claimed the arrest was about unchecked authoritarianism under Trump. It's always unchecked, right? It's always usurpation. It's always going against the law, blah, blah, blah. Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, came out of the woodwork. Warned the administration is threatening the judicial system. It's always threat. See, you see the language has never stopped. Remember when Donald Trump got shot? Everybody all remember that? And then there was also a bunch of other plots to assassinate the president, or not the president yet, but you know what I mean. Well, you know, they're still going to push the whole, remember where Joey came out, Joey crawled out of his crypt. See how he sounds like The Walking Dead. That's him just pooping, by the way. That wasn't actually anything other than him, you know, crapping his pants. You know, you missed me. I missed you guys too, by the way. Somebody spit out their coffee on that one. I didn't know where I was going with it. I'll be honest. I didn't know what I was going to do with that, but it came out at the end. That's exactly what Joey said. Oh, Jesus Christ, we're on a roll. We are on a roll. Hit the like button if you haven't already. We're not done yet. We're not. Yeah, the convention. Thank you. All righty. So Joey comes out and says, you got to watch your rhetoric. You can't be saying, yeah, he always does his mouth like this. You can't be saying stuff like that. Well, what's the implications in the broader context of all this? Well, first publicly known case of the Trump administration actually charging a judge. You have a DOJ memo from January that I guess directed prosecutors to pursue criminal cases against state and local officials who blocked immigration actions, which seems like that's what they're doing. But then when you actually, you know, execute a DOJ memo, things get all, people get all their panties in a bunch. And there was a similar case, I guess, in Massachusetts, by the way. So this is for your guys' head knowledge, that a Massachusetts judge was also charged during Trump's first term for allegedly helping an illegal immigrant flee ICE. So it's not the first time they've done this. The case was later dropped by the Biden administration, as you can imagine, because, well, they're all for this illegal immigration. Remember, you need the legislation to go through to fill the border. No, the laws are already in the books. You don't need them to do anything. You just needed a new president that actually took the border crisis seriously and stopped this massive flow. By the way, this was this is what the Democrats' agenda the entire time, folks. We said it from the get-go. This was their agenda. We knew what they were doing, and they knew what they were doing. It was always the plan that, hey, if Trump gets in, that's fine. There's no way that he's going to deport the 10 million people plus that came in under Joey. There's no way he's going to deport the 25 million. And in the case that he even tries to do it, we're just going to block all of it and use the two words due process. You want to know what due process is? Me looking up your immigration status and seeing that you're not an American citizen, so now you're getting the hell out. That's the due process, really. I took the due process of looking at the list and checking it twice to find out if you're supposed to be here or not. And then Trump's coming to kick your ass out of the United States of America. Now you guys are getting Broadway showstoppers here. You're getting the full entertainment. Now, for those lefties that are in the chat, when I'm referring to an illegal alien because they're idiots, I'm not talking about this, okay? I'm not talking about this guy, all right? This is an alien, all right? Well, really, it's a toy. They can't tell the difference of that either. But I'm talking about an illegal immigrant. Shouldn't be here. If somebody's coming here illegally, I got questions. If you're not willing to take in our laws seriously to the point that you are willing to break them to come in here, what makes me think that you're going to assimilate to our creed, our values, our belief system, our founding documents, our rule of law, the things that function here correctly? What's supposed to make me believe that you're going to follow any of that? But we all know who they'll vote for, right? We all know what it was for. It was the redistrict. It was, because that's all sentencing, right? It doesn't matter if you're an illegal alien or not. They're just there to count you as you're a body. You're a warm body with a heartbeat and you're breathing our air. Democrats don't care. We do, because they're voting in our elections and we would like them to stop. And I'm sure there's illegal immigrants actually voting for Donald Trump, believe it or not. Now, why would somebody go against their own agenda? Black people did it. Black people went from the Republican Party to the Democrat Party to get that those handouts. Now, it's just history. People go, it's the big switch. People left the Democrat Party and came to the Republican Party. Yeah, that's true as well. After the Civil Rights Movement, by the way. Yeah, it was after the Civil Rights Movement that they went from the Democrat Party to the Republican Party, because it was the Republican Party, if you recall, that we're the one that had the majority vote there, which allowed these civil rights to take place. But if you recall, they were willing during FDR's administration, with all the handouts in the welfare state that he was establishing, they actually left the Republican Party, the party of anti-slavery, the party of abolishing slavery, to go into a party of slavery. They actually went against their own agenda. They sold themselves, metaphorically, to the Democrat Party with FDR. Well, we're not here for a history lesson. What we're here for is the news. And like I said, the Democrat Party is utilizing these activist judges to go against the will of the people, folks. That might be a threat to democracy. So a federal judge blocks Trump's proof of citizenship voting requirement. And I'm going to break this down for you because I think it's that important. This is a big issue here in the United States. There's no integrity in our elections. And when there's no integrity in our elections, people don't have faith in it. And that comes from both sides. And that's a massive problem. And that's something we've talked about here on the show many of times. Many of times. So I'm going to break this down for you really quick. Let's just get to the facts and the core of the story so we can get to the other stuff. You have this federal judge, Colleen Collar-Coatley, I believe. Well, I don't know what's up with all these crazy names. Well, it's a Bill Clinton appointee. Well, she blocked President Trump's executive order requiring proof of U.S. citizenship to vote in federal elections. Showing proof that you actually live here and vote here seems to me a basic requirement for voting. I have to show ID, believe it or not, every now and then when I buy an alcoholic drink or when I buy a firearm. I have a right to buy a firearm just in the same way you have a right to vote. But I have to show proof for one, but not the other. I had to show a photo ID to get on an airplane, but not to vote. Now, to me, I would hold voting more sacred than I would getting on an airplane. If I had to pick, Brad, you got to give up one. Are you going to give up your right to vote or riding on an airplane? I'm giving up riding on an airplane all day long. A lot of Americans, by the way, won't do that. A lot of Americans will throw away their right to vote, which is sad. It's sad. So there's a preliminary injunction where the judge halted enforcement of the order, of course, right? While a lawsuit from the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, and the left-wing voting groups plays out. I'm going to read that again just so everybody's clear on that. A lawsuit from who? The DNC, folks, the Democratic National Committee, and left-wing voting groups are working together. How many times on the show have I said the left wing, the progressives, have taken over the Democrat Party? That's why Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, RFK Jr., they left the Democrat Party because it's not recognizable anymore. And I've said this time and time. Hand to God, I really don't understand why you would, if you're an old school Democrat, I'll even go as far as like Bill Clinton days. You're not a Democrat. I'm sorry. That party is not you anymore. You're actually more inclined to be an independent. That is probably more recognizable to you as a party than the actual Democrat Party anymore. And they'll come back for some reason. They want to defend the Democrats all the time. I don't know why. They go, well, you know, the Republicans have gone further right. If we've gone further right, then why are a lot of the old school Democrats coming into the Republican Party saying it's more recognizable to them? That doesn't make any sense to me. None at all. That means we've actually gone more center, which I don't like, by the way, but we have. I'll even give you an example how we know that the Republican Party has gone more to the middle than anything. Look at our spending. Look at our behavior. And I'm not for it. Bigger government, the Republicans have been for, voting in stuff that goes against the will of the American people. Insane budgets they're creating, just spending like a drunken sailor. I mean, we have not gone further right. We've gone further middle. So the Trump executive order that was signed in March, by the way, required voters to prove U.S. citizenship before voting in federal elections, which is what a lot of Americans want. The vast majority of Americans want this. Required citizenship checks for people enrolled in public assistance programs before they receive voter registration forms, and then also reinforced deadlines on mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots would need to meet stricter cutoff times. Not this, hey, you know what, just turns out, well, the election was a week ago, but we got a bunch more ballots in from a random freaking truck that we've never seen before. From a guy that's not even a truck driver. Weird. Oh, yeah, no, they just turned up pallets and pallets of ballots. Just turned up. Yeah, no idea where they came from, but we got them. So what exactly got blocked? Well, as you can imagine, the proof of citizenship got blocked. And then citizenship verification for public assistance recipients also got blocked. What was not blocked out of this whole thing? The trigger mail ballot deadline for now. So they're like, oh, well, you know, if we had to pick and choose, we'll take the illegals voting and we'll just make sure that they get their vote in on time. That was basically it from the DNC. The opponents, as you can imagine, argument is that states have the right to set their own election procedures. There is some truth to that. Only Congress, not the president, can regulate state election practices for federal elections. And this is where one of the big points I want to get to is what I think the Trump administration's been trying to do in these first 100 days. You know, the Democrats keep saying, well, he's a threat to democracy, right? The establishment, he's authoritarian, blah, blah, blah. There is a gram of salt truth to that. And just hear me out here. What I think the Trump administration is trying to do by putting through all these executive orders is trying to see what they can get away with. I think they're trying to see how much power the executive branch actually has over all the other two branches. Which is interesting because if you go back in United States history, like I'm talking like the founding really far back, it was the legislature that actually had the most power way back in the day. I'm not saying that's how things are supposed to be, but for a federalist, that's why all powers are supposed to have all branches are supposed to have equal powers. I think they're testing the system right now in the first 100 days to see what they can get with, or away with rather, over the next 3.5 years. It's not a bad play. It really isn't. But these are obvious things I think that should be put forth. So what's the historical context to all of this? The voter proof, judges blocking this stuff. Has it been happening before? Let me wet my whistle. It's been a while since I've talked for an hour straight. By the way, if you guys are enjoying what you're seeing, welcome. If you're new, hit that like button. We do this each and every morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. In a month, by the way, in about a month, we're going to be going to multi-hour shows, by the way. Once summer hits, folks, you guys better buckle up, and I hope you're going to be with me every step of the way, baby, because it's going to be crazy. In 2005, you had the Real ID Act. I think all of you remember this. And that required proof of citizenship for federal identification, but did not apply to voting, which was very weird to me. That made no sense whatsoever back in 2005. Now, here in 2025, 20 years later, everybody's supposed to have a real ID. Again, that shows proof. You needed proof of citizenship to get that. Arizona passed a proof of citizenship voter law called Proposition 200 in 2004, but the Supreme Court struck it down in 2013 in Arizona v. Intertribal Council, saying federal law preempts it. Federal election integrity laws, you had the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, aka Motor Voter Law, makes it easy to register, but has very minimal citizenship verification. What you're seeing, by the way, what you're seeing is a multi-generational, multi-decade move to give people the right to vote that shouldn't have that right in the first place, or enabling people to vote that shouldn't vote in the first place. Folks, they're no different than the Chinese, the Democrat Party. These people work for decades. They're a lot more mobile. Their strategy is a lot better than the Republican Party always has been. The Democrats do things better than us, believe it or not, just not for the betterment of America, but for the betterment of everybody else that's around the world. The National Voter Registration Act requires states to offer voter registration at DMVs and public agencies, but prohibits states from adding extra proof requirements unless Congress authorizes them. So as you can imagine, there's voter fraud concerns from this, where conservatives have long argued that non-citizen voting is a real and underreported problem. And Democrats are saying, well, it's not a problem. There's no big deal here. They're not doing anything that's going to swing the elections. If that's the case, by the way, it doesn't help their argument, but if that's true, why not have voter verification then? What's the problem with it? If you're saying it's not going to have any impact on the elections, then put it through. If it's not hurting you whatsoever, and if the majority of Americans, this is what they wanted, then no harm, no foul. It doesn't bother anybody. So why wouldn't you just do it? We know why. Because they're lying. That's why. So what I have to say here is just a few things regarding this, and then we're going to move on. The judges are the ones that are undermining our election integrity. So once again, an activist judge appointed by a Democrat president is standing between American citizens and secure elections. And we have a word for this. It's called judicial activism, folks. Judicial activism, where conservatives have warned about this whole charade for decades, where unelected judges, these bureaucrats, this managerial class, which is what Vivek Ramaswamy likes to call them, is dictating election law instead of the American people and their representatives. Meaning it's actually going in the opposite direction of the way our government was created. It's going against what the established founding fathers created, where you're supposed to have representatives, Congress, doing the will of the American people. But not only do you have an entire branch side of government that's going against the will of the people, go against actually the way things are supposed to work, but now you have these activist judges that are gone fully just crazy and rogue here. So if you think about it, you need ID. I said this before. You need ID to buy alcohol, fly onto a plane, check into a hotel, which I just did, but asking someone to prove their citizenship to vote for our nation's leaders is somehow considered extreme, and it's absurd. Doesn't make sense to me. Proof of citizenship equals just basic election security, by the way. This isn't about voter suppression. It's about protecting the voice of the American citizen. Every illegal vote cancels out one legal vote. But they can't get it through their head, can they? They can't, because it's not working and hasn't been for decades. Proof of citizenship is common sense. Folks, I know Donald Trump's in office, and I had some time to think about it on vacation. Now, I was in and out of Wi-Fi and trying to see the news. I was posting sporadically here or there. But for the most part, I really didn't know what was going on. So I had a lot of time to think. A few pina coladas in me. A few drinks really get you going. And I've said this in the past, and I still hold to it. I thought, maybe my mind has changed now that Donald Trump's in office. He's changing things. He's trying to put the will of the American people back in the forefront, back to being the number one thing. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer here, man. I just don't know if this republic is savable. I don't know if it's salvageable. And I've said it in the past. And if you're curious, well, when did you say it? The phrase I always use is that in terms of a democracy, in terms of republics, okay, people are like, we're not a democracy. I get that, but we have forms of democracy within a republic. Or constitutional republic. If you look at the timeline of history, as you can tell, I've been reading a lot of history books lately. Keep talking about it. We are considered an outlier, and not just like any outlier. We are like the outlier of a lasting republic. And if you look at Rome, which is a great example, Rome has been back and forth throughout history. And the further we go forward here in time, which is the only way that you can go, I suppose, is we are at some point becoming more likely probability of losing our freedoms, our liberties, and the republic than yesterday. I don't know if the word's optimistic or pessimistic. I don't know which one I am. Maybe you guys can let me know in the chat. I don't know if this republic is salvageable now. And that was the conclusion that I came to. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer. I don't know if Donald Trump can do it, you guys. And I think you're seeing, I'm not saying he's not trying. That's not, please understand, that's not what, folks, I need to show you the damn hat. I'm one of those people that voted for this guy 3 times, by the way. 3 times. Okay, I stood in line with my dad when he was still around in 2016 and voted for him. And then when my dad wasn't around, I stood in line by myself, which was a sad thing to do, by the way. But I was there voting for Donald Trump again. And then the last election, you all know this, I voted for the guy again. I'm not saying he's not trying, but I think we've gone too long as a country and we've gotten too comfortable and we have allowed too many people, too many generations to come into this country that don't believe in our values. They don't believe in our creed. They don't believe in what America is supposed to be and the ideals that we always strive to be. I firmly believe that. I think there's a lot of Americans that don't love America. They say they do, but I don't think that they actually do. And I think as much as Donald Trump is trying here, I think the Democrat Party and the establishment, these bureaucrats, the swamp is so deep, I'm not sure that it can be drained, man. I know that's maybe, and that's okay if you guys are still holding out and that you're into it. I hope that's right. I just don't know. I really don't. Duke, thank you so much becoming part of the Bald Brad Army. By the way, damn awesome thumbnail, by the way. But thank you, Duke. I appreciate it. I have not seen that name pop up, but thank you for joining us here. Greatly appreciate you. If anybody else is new, let me know. But Duke, that name looks new. I apologize if you've been here for a while, but that news is on for me. Brad is spot on. Too many lazy, uneducated people. Well, what's fascinating is that Democrats are actually more educated than Republicans are. So, but I mean, it just shows you how bad the education system. Like, I always say this, nobody should be bragging about having an education here in 2025. As somebody that's in that field, that is not something to be bragging about. You're given everything. Kids are cheating left and right. Don't even get me going. Don't even get me going. Well, moving on here. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Please follow us. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. But more importantly, we're trying to gain some traction over at Rumble. We do this each and every morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we go over a bunch of articles. Like, well, Brad, you've only talked about 2 things. Oh, they're important things. And quite frankly, that's something I've been wanting to do. And I've mentioned this. I wanted to try to get more into articles and the thinking and conservative thought and ideals, kind of like what we used to do a couple years ago. It's just there's a lot of new people joining us and they're not used to it. I think it's important to inform your listeners on what one side is saying and what the other side is saying. And if you notice, very rarely am I actually giving my opinion. I'm just saying, hey, this is what one side is saying. This is what the other side is saying. Sometimes I'll throw my opinion in there, but you can decide. You're all smart. I don't treat you like you're stupid. I treat you like exactly how I'd probably treat you in real life. I'd just be a little bit more quiet. You're not dumb, but the media is. The media are just spreading a bunch of hoaxes. So what's the new one? Is it whipping illegal immigrants again? Is it the Russia hoax? What is it? Well, it was about Donald Trump wearing a suit. So here's all, I mean, there's more than this, by the way. There is way more than this. The Vatican asked Pope Francis funeral attendees to wear all black. Trump wore a blue suit. Melania Trump wears black veil to Pope Francis's funeral as President Donald Trump dons a blue suit. Trump's blue suit at Pope funerals draws attention. Trump's accused of Pope Francis' funeral breaks dress code. This is what they're pushing, okay? Everybody saw it. So here at the Independent, Trump accused of Pope Francis' funeral breaking dress code, then leaving early. Oh, God forbid the leader of the free world has stuff to do. President Donald Trump has been accused of breaking the dress code for Pope Francis's funeral by wearing blue rather than black to the Vatican service. Trump and his wife Melania, who by contrast wore a black dress and black veil, then left the ceremony as soon as it was over. Oh, but I was told he left early. Oh, no. That's what I was told here in the title. than leaving early. But that's weird, because if I just scroll down a couple inches, it said what? Oh, he left the ceremony as soon as it was over. See what they do with these titles? Because people don't actually read anything anymore. They just read the titles and they, oh, well, wow, he left early. That's messed up. Rather than waiting until after the burial. Oh, okay. Gotcha. The dress code for the funeral at St. Peter's Square in Vatican required men to wear a black suit with a black tie and a black bottom on the left lapel. Women were asked to wear long black dresses, gloves, and a veil. Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky did not even wear a suit, but nobody wanted to talk about that. Oh, no. Instead, showing up in a black military attire he has worn consistently since the Russian invasion of 2022. So here's Trump in his blue suit that they were getting all panties in a bunch over. Now, numerous commentators watching the service expressed shock and anger, right? Because they're holier than thou. They're better than the rest of us. That Trump eschewed official request, instead wearing a medium blue suit and matching tie. One critic on social media said Trump did not even have the decency to wear a black tie, and he wore a blue suit. No respect. Puh, what a terrible human being. Another suggested it showed a lack of class, while many said the color was disrespectful. This is called reaching. This is called just, or if you're not reaching, it's just scraping your nails at the bottom of the barrel and actually scraping up your knuckles because you're just really getting down in there. Now, what you're going to see, other people had blue suits as well. A lot of them. Former President Joe Biden and UK's Prince William, representing the king, both wore, what was that? What? Oh, darker blue suits. Weird. They get away with it, huh? But attracted much less criticism. Of course. Why would they go after Joey? Really? Biden even asked the deputy speaker of Uganda, Thomas Tawaba, what his name was. Just kidding. No, to be in a selfie with him. Look at Joe having to be escorted. Jeez. Look at him grabbing onto the guy for dear life. UK Prime Minister and his wife Victoria adhered to the dress code, wearing black. Trump and Zelensky had a very productive discussion before the funeral. Now, let's get to the actual picture, okay? That's pretty much what I want to show you. Let's get to this picture. Now, I'm just going to go with what I think to be blue, okay? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm just kind of calling out. Some of these are really dark blue. 12, 13, 14, 15. We'll count this as 16, 17. By the way, this is cropped. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. That's just in this picture alone. Can you imagine? 25. More than 2 dozen. And by the way, that was me calling out just the ones really quickly, not to mention the ones that are maybe even charcoal. This dude's not even wearing a tie. What about this guy? Where's his black tie? Oh, well, they're different, huh? We can't talk about them, can we? This is what they're doing, folks. They're a bunch of liars. Big time liars. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can pull this up really quick. I responded to this TikTok yesterday, but you're like, Brad, we don't care about TikToks. No. This sums up perfectly what they were doing. Let me get it for y'all. Get rid of that.
Continue to embarrass us. Everyone is wearing black except for him. He's wearing blue. You seen this picture? I don't get it. Why does the president continue to embarrass us? Everyone is wearing black except for him. He's wearing blue to a funeral of the Pope? Man, this is a great example of why he's a failure, because he cannot learn and he demands respect from us. Nobody respects a failure unless you're a failure. And I can hear the maggots now. He's so cool. He's different than the rest of the leaders. Yeah, he sucks. That's how he's different. Get with the program, dude. You're representing the American people, not a Florida trailer park.
I understand why you guys don't want to be on TikTok, but I'm on there. And I do think it's important because you get to see what the left not only says and thinks about you, but you also hear the craziness that they spew. Brad, send your bigger photo to this jerk. Now, we have more stuff coming out with the media. And this is where you had the White House Correspondents' Dinner, I believe, that took place. And the irony media, I guess, went through the roof on this one, where Axios reporter Alex Thompson was recognized on Saturday by the White House Correspondents Association, which, in my opinion, is just a complete joke of an association, receiving the Aldo Beckman Award for overall excellence for his work in exposing how President Joe Biden's, quote, cognitive decline was impacting his ability to do his job, information the White House tried to conceal. This is what he got his award for. Wow. Where's my award for calling this out before the guy was elected president? I mean, that was one of the talking points. Like, this guy's not well. This guy's like slurring through his words. Now, I slur through my words, but I'm also talking and waking up at 4:30 to do the show. I have a reason maybe to be slurring my words because I'm half asleep right now. Joey doesn't. He used to, because I guess he stuttered. Not anymore. Not anymore. Moderator and host of NBC's Meet the Press, Kristen Welker, who's just really gone off the deep end. She used to be a White House correspondent, by the way, presented the award to Thompson, who co-authored a book on Biden's decline with CNN anchor Jake Tapper. Both of them didn't want to talk about the decline for 4 years with Joey in office. That wasn't mainstream news of, oh man, we voted for a guy that's not alive. He had as much brain power as my houseplant does outside. The guy has the brain capacity of an overused hairdryer. The guy has the brain capacity of an empty lipstick case. I had nothing on that last one. I just tried throwing something out there. It wasn't a zinger. It wasn't. No, don't like for that. No. Well, prompting critics to point out the fact that Biden's decline has been obviously long for his disastrous CNN debate against President Donald Trump and long before Thompson published a single report on the topic. So here's Alex Thompson. Yeah, I'm subjected to this. You're right. It's a little long, but we'll get through it.
Aldo Beckman Award for overall excellence is named for a past president of the association, the late Chicago Tribune Washington correspondent.
You think this would be fixed, Elon? You think I'd be able to go on vacation and come back and it'd be fixed?
Aldo Beckman. The award was established in 1981 to recognize a correspondent who personifies the journalistic excellence and personal qualities of Aldo Beckman: impartiality, integrity, and a deep knowledge of the presidency.
All right, I can't take her. I'm sorry. I'm not going to subject you to multiple minutes of that. I think we got the gist of it. So, quote, President Biden's decline and its cover up by the people around him is a reminder that every White House, regardless of party, is capable of deception. Okay. That's where I'm at right here. But being truth tellers, oh, how slimy is that? But being truth tellers also means telling the truth about ourselves. We, myself included, missed a lot of this story, and some people trust us less because of it. It took them they knew about this, folks. Everybody knew about Joey's decline. They're a bunch of liars. I've seen time and time again these influencers and media personalities come out and saying, no, I didn't see it until the debate. I didn't see it until the debate. How is it? Hand to God. All of us saw it before the guy was ever elected. On the campaign trail, he was fumbling through his words. He was slurring. He was getting lost. He didn't know where he was going. He thought Kamala was running for president. There were times, I know you all remember this, the guy thought he was running for Senate. He thought he was running for a seat in the Senate. He was like, and that's what happens with dementia, is you go back like decades. You resort back to, you don't know what time period you're in anymore. You actually don't know what's going on. And you resort back to things that you can remember. And that's all he could, because he sucked at the government tit his entire life and was a senator. So that's what he could recall. Thompson was suggesting that the blame for the cover-up lay entirely with the Biden administration and that the press had been in the dark. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. This is how slimy and gross they are. And if you want to know who's going to be trying to do the exact same thing as this, is Gavin Newsom for 2028. You want to know how slimy all these Democrats are going to be? Bernie Sanders, AOC, and Gavin Newsom, and Kamala Harris, the four horsemen of the apocalypse. You want to know how slimy they're going to pull the same stunt? Well, I didn't know. When I talked to him, he was fine. When I talked to him, he had strings and was a puppet. I don't know who was pulling the strings, but his mouth was moving. I heard him fart a couple times. We bear some responsibility for faith in the media being as such lows. Thompson conceded, adding that honesty was required in order to rebuild trust. No, it takes years to build trust. It takes seconds to break it. You guys broken the trust of the American people a long time ago, and your ratings are showing it. He went on to say that was doubly important because in the current climate, people are struggling to figure out what's true, and people with power are not telling the truth. No duh. Is this news that new? See, the word news has the word new in it. That means that whatever's being presented is new, but it's not. We've known this for quite some time. And this is what the charade, see, this is the big spin that they're trying to do here. They're trying to slowly morph and say, well, yeah, it was our fault, but don't worry, you can trust us now. I know, it's crazy, right? We've lied to you every single day for almost 5+ years, but don't worry, we recognize our mistakes. You can trust us now. And here's the thing. Who am I? I'm a Democrat. I'm a progressive. I'll come back and watch your show and trust you now. By the way, see, I am bald. Wow, you guys can actually see my bald head. Yeah, I got a little bit of color though, huh? Wow, okay, that's what the sun does to you. Not too much. Not too much, can't get blanched. So that's them lying. And people came out and called it out here. You have people posting this. Here's Stephen L. Miller. Alex and every single journalist cashing in on these sudden deceptive revelations has yet to explain this photograph. Remember when Joey had to put question number 1 and had to actually pronounce their name and who they were calling on and what outlet they were with? Y'all remember that? He's holding the card. Everything was pre-selected. You had to actually submit your questions ahead of time, which was odd. You have Burke Macklin here. Why is that everyone in America, if not the world, didn't miss this story, but the one group of people who should have reported it, the journalist, didn't? Correct. I met people from England, the UK. They saw it too. They knew Joey was off his rocker. They saw it as well. Wasn't anything new. IT guy said, you all didn't miss the story. You consciously chose to cover it up. Correct. They did. The latter is much more worse and one of many reasons you've completely lost public trust, but the Democrats still love the outlets. The Democrats still use them. It wasn't deception. Years before Alex hitched his wagon to Jake Tapper to sell books, I wrote an entire one in 2022 on Biden's brain turning to applesauce. Enough of this ridiculous narrative already of the press playing the victim of being deceived. You all knew. Correct. They all knew. There were times when they reported it, but most of the reporting came after. It came after Joey's debate. I'm still not so sure that Joey actually knowingly dropped out, by the way. I still think there's a conspiracy theory there. Remember the white piece of paper Joe Biden sent out that didn't even have his signature really on it? Y'all remember that? And it wasn't on like White House letterhead. It was just somebody like got like a piece, like it was like somebody printed out a Word document and just forged his signature. And I want to see if I can get an image of it here. Yeah, this is it right here. It was if somebody wrote this for Joey and did not even use AutoPen on it. He used AutoPen for everything else. The most important of documents, by the way, he used an AutoPen for, but on this one, he didn't. And maybe the thinking was, well, we need to make it believable. Make it kind of scribbly because Joey don't know what the hell's going on. Couldn't even draw a J correctly. Holy Lord. Like I said, I don't even think that Joey did this. I have no proof that Joey actually made this letter. I don't know. You tell me. You tell me. If you're enjoying what you're hearing and seeing, hit that like and subscribe button. We do this each and every morning. I got to plug my own show, folks. I don't have producers. I don't have anybody. It's just me that does this and runs it. Karen helps out over there on Rumble and YouTube moderating for me. Thank you so much. I appreciate your help and generosity to the channel. Karen's been a long time supporter, so I appreciate it. I needed some help because we get these lefties in here that are crazy, shouting racist stuff like we had the other week, and that was enough for me to say, I need some help. I need some help. I can't do everything, Brad. You can't do everything. Well, let's get into some other news here really quick, and I appreciate you guys being okay with me wetting my whistle every now and then. I talk for basically 8 hours straight every day, pretty close to straight. We have here Marco Rubio, who's doing a great job, by the way, but I guess he's sparring with NBC host over claim American kids were deported. And this is the narrative that they're pushing. What the Democrat Party does really well is talking about feelings and emotions and empathy and pulling at the heartstring of Americans, because truthfully, Americans are the most generous nation that's ever existed in mankind. And we get moved by feelings. The Democrat Party is moved a lot by their heart and feelings. They actually dictate policy and actions based on feelings, which is dangerous, by the way, because your feelings change throughout the day. In the morning, you wake up super pissed off. And then, a couple hours later, you have a cup of coffee and food. You're not hungry anymore, and you're completely fine. You should never base your actions and decision-making on feelings. I shouldn't say never. Majority of the time. You can always find a case where, this would be a good idea to use your feelings. Sure. You understand what I'm talking about. There's always those people, right? Well, I could find this one thing out of a million that I could disprove your argument for. Sick. That's why we speak in generals, because when we speak in generals, we can actually have a conversation about things. But when you're constantly always pinpointing to that one thing that somebody said that's ultimately wrong with that one case that you presented out of the millions of other cases that would go for the person that's the in general part of the conversation, you don't actually get anywhere, which is, by the way, I think that debates are stupid because of that very one thing. Well, what about this? Okay. So Republicans go with more of like numbers and logic and reason and documents, all those, the history. So this is what they're trying to do. You're deporting kids with cancer. Again, I think it's remarkable that all of a sudden the Democrats care about children. Well, I mean, they've always cared about the children, just transing them and lopping off their genitals and giving them hormone enhancers, puberty blockers, indoctrinating them into the education system, which is why I said it's no shock that the Democrat Party is the most educated. It's no shock to me. They're also the most indoctrinated. They're most brainwashed people out there. They go, well, you voted for Trump. You're brainwashed too. Okay. Marco Rubio fired back Sunday. By the way, I don't agree with everything the Republican Party does. I've said it time and time again. He fired back Sunday over a misleading headline that claimed President Donald Trump's immigration officials had deported 3 American citizens, all of whom are minor children. So he took to meet the press with you-know-who, Kristen Welker. And, we got that clip here for you right now. He just completely nukes her here.
And that's a misleading headline. Okay, 3 U.S. citizens, ages 4, 7, and 2, were not deported. Their mothers, who are legally in this country, were deported. The children went with their mothers. If those children are U.S. citizens, they can come back into the United States if there's their father or someone here who wants to assume them. But ultimately, who was deported was their mothers who were here illegally. The children just went with their mothers. But it wasn't like you guys make it sound like ICE agents kicked down the door and grabbed the 2-year-old and threw him on an airplane. That's misleading.
Yeah.
That's just not true.
Just to be clear, because I do want to get to the overhaul at the State Department, is it the U.S. policy to deport children, even U.S. citizens, with their families, and I hear what you're saying, without due process? Just to be very clear there.
Well,
all of a sudden they love due process, huh? All of a sudden.
No. Again, if someone's in this country unlawfully, illegally, that person gets deported. If that person is with a 2-year-old child or has a 2-year-old child and says, I want to take my child with me, well, then you have two choices. You can say, yes, of course you can take your child, whether they're a citizen or not, because it's your child. Or you can say, yes, you can go, but your child must stay behind. And then your headlines would read, U.S. holding hostage 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 7-year-old while mother deported. So the parents make that choice. I imagine those 3 U.S. citizen children have fathers here in the United States. Yeah. They can stay with their father. That's up to their family to decide where the children go. Children go with their parents. Parents decide where their children go. Right. The U.S. deported their mothers who were illegally in America.
And what they would say if the United States said, no, sorry, your child has to stay here, but you got to go, what would the narrative be in the media? You're separating families. You're ripping them from a parent's arms. Oh my God, can you believe it? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. There's no right move that the Trump administration can do, and you're seeing it in real time. And this isn't news to any of us, and we all know this, but it still needs to be stated and said again and again and again, that you are seeing the mainstream media, once again, fabricating hoaxes with the blue suit, saying that Donald Trump is cruel. How could he be getting rid of Americans now? Now they're deporting Americans. Look at this. Oh, Mr. Garcia is he's just a Maryland man, hosting block parties, doing charity work for everybody. He mows everybody's lawn. Yeah, there's an 80-year-old woman down the street that's bedridden. And every Saturday he wakes up early and washes her feet and cleans her house and mows her lawn. And then after all of that, he re-asphalts the entire neighborhood. And then he goes in with little clippers and trims people's hair and gives them buzz cuts. And the guy's just a Maryland man, just flipping patties. And not just any patties. He does a 70-30 split between fat and actual ground beef. He gets the good stuff for the people. He's an American man. He's a shoe sign. He shines shoes for free at the mall. Just does all this stupid shit. Yeah, no, if that wasn't enough, he'll actually take your order. Do you want medium or well done? Yeah, what would you like? Oh, he's just a Maryland man. And then when all's said and done, we all go in our houses and we can hear his wife screaming as he beats the crap out of her because she didn't put enough salt on the freaking burgers. Oh, how'd your head get in the drawer? Oh, how'd your head get in the drawer? She fell in a doorknob. Yeah, that's how her, oh, that protruding ball that's coming out of her face, she fell in a doorknob. You wouldn't believe it. Yeah, I was just doing the chores around the house because I'm a Maryland man and I'm a great husband, so I was vacuuming and mopping up and she slipped. Yeah, she fell on a telephone cable. That's how she tripped. He's a good guy. Let's just turn a blind eye to the MS-13 stuff and the tattoos and, yeah. Yeah, there you go. 2 guys with the salt on the burger. I appreciate it. God, I miss you guys so much. We're not done yet. Oh, no, we're not done yet. We're going to go over one more story here. Andy McCabe dumps cold water in Democrats' outrage over arrested judge. So former FBI director Andy McCabe, who was fired by President Donald Trump in 2018, admitted during a recent CNN appearance that the case against a Wisconsin judge appeared to be a solid legal footing, despite objections of Democrats. And we talked about this at the beginning of today's episode. But again, it's big news. It's big news. So here he is.
It's not an unreasonable complaint. There's plenty of evidence in the complaint to get you beyond the probable cause phase, which is where we are right now. And I think when you start looking at how the judge was treated, after the events that led to the charge. So where and when and how she was arrested, and the fact that she was arrested at the courthouse rather than her own residence, the fact that she was placed in a jail cell for hours before her arraignment was called in the court later in the afternoon. These things are unprecedented. Typically, upstanding members of the community who have no criminal history and aren't accused of a violent act are allowed to self-surrender at the time of their arraignment. The fact that they did not offer that courtesy to her and instead went out of their way to treat her harshly, I believe is an act of performative cruelty on behalf of the Department of Justice, which is not the way any Department of Justice should be acting. But it's also not.
It's cruel. It's terrible. How could they? They're unprecedented. These things are unprecedented, you guys, even though I gave you historical context. So he said this, you saw it. These things are unprecedented. Typically, upstanding members of the community who have no criminal history and are not accused of a violent act are allowed to self-surrender at the time of their arraignment. The fact that they did not offer that courtesy to her, instead went out of their way to treat her harshly, I believe is an act of preemptive cruelty on behalf of the Department of Justice. Was it cruelty when the Democrat Party allowed in millions of illegal aliens that are siphoning from our system, in some cases causing states to go bankrupt, or localities that we saw early on with the immigration, by the way, if you want to recall that one, that was paying for the Greyhound buses and their COVID-19 checks, where the localities had to pay for them because Joe Biden wouldn't. Again, siphoning from the system, raping and killing our women and children, sex trafficking, drug trafficking, killing 250,000 Americans through fentanyl. I mean, the list goes on and on. Was that cruelty? Was that unprecedented behavior? I would say so, but we can't talk like that, because if you do, well, you're disgusting, you're a bigot, you're a homophobe, all these things, right? Even when things don't make sense, like, why are you bringing homophobe stuff back into this? Like, what are you even talking about? Well, there's a huge raid over the weekend. This one I saw yesterday, where over 100 illegal immigrants were arrested in Colorado Springs. Massive underground nightclub raid. This was bonkers. I think we have a clip here of it. Let me, usually they try to roll an ad beforehand. So we'll go to the chat while the ad is rolling, and then we'll come to it. Said, Brad is back. How you doing? I'm doing better than ever. My voice is a little hoarse. Mind you, I'm actually sick. I got sick the day after I came back from vacation, which I will take all day. But I'm not super under the weather, but slightly runny nose and a little bit of a dry throat. But here we go. I'm doing back, and it's good to be back with you guys. I really do mean that. I missed you. This is the longest I've ever taken a vacation, by the way. Here we go. Shattering a window right there, huh? Oh shit! What you want? What you want? What you gonna do? Maybe now come back from you. Bad boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? All right, can I get okay, ladies, do you see this woman here? We're gonna go back. I just want to call something out. If there's anybody in the chat, I'm gonna help you out. Okay, like this here, right here. You see how the belly's protruding out? You see how it's protruding out? Don't do that. I don't know any guys that are like drooling watching your folds, like, because the shirt is so tight that it's like squeezing out of your body. There's no guys that think that's attractive. You'll find them. But it's really rough to watch when people are so comfortable in their bodies and you're wearing pants and shirts that are way too tight for you. And so your belly is just like forcing its way out. Yeah, I'm here. Please. We don't find that sexy. You want to look, the nice thing about our audience here, we're actually one of the few shows that have almost a 50-50 split between men and women, by the way. That is extremely rare. Most podcasts are almost all men. They just find me sexy. Men, guys, brothers, do you find that sexy when a woman's belly is protruding out like that. And it's just flapping in the wind. Let me know in the chat while I read this real quick. President Donald Trump commented on the raid in a Truth Social post. A big raid. Last night, big, huge raid. Unprecedented raid. On some of the worst people illegally in our country. Drug dealers, murderers, and our violent criminals. Of all shapes and sizes. Oh boy. Yes, they were. Yes, they were. And judges don't want to send them back to where they came from. If we don't win this battle at the Supreme Court, our country as we know it is finished. And that's exactly what I was saying earlier about I don't know if we can come back from this. It'll be a crime-ridden mess. Make America great again. Peggy says, Brad has bird flu. You have to pluck the feathers. No, it's not your hair growth. Oh, that's rude. But it's funny. It's funny. It hurts a little bit. It stings. Jeff says, absolutely not. It curls back up. Exactly. Front butt is what Duke said. Paul says it's okay if they're belly dancers. I just picture Paul sitting in his chair and that when she's like pelvic thrusting him with the belly dancing going back and forth, he's being hit in the face with the belly button ring. And he's like getting whipped like this. So stop. Star says front bizzle. That is absolutely correct. Dizzy likes it. He says sexy biatches. I feel you on that one, Brad. Thanks. Pat gets it. Pat says hell no. Mizzy says I'm not a male, but I definitely agree. Hell no. Mizzy jumps into it. Heck yeah. Quite a picture you paint, Brad. I got an imagination. Oh, do I? So Pam Bondi then is applauded for the operation, which included 300 officials across multiple agencies, including the FBI and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, the ATF. This morning apprehended over 100 illegal aliens at an underground nightclub frequent to Tren de Aragua and MS-13 terrorists. Cocaine, meth, and pink cocaine was seized. I didn't even know cocaine had a color to it other than white. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Homeland Security Investigations, the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, and the Colorado Springs Police Department were also involved in the operation. There's the belly. Why? There's so much I want to comment on this picture. I'm just commenting like this, like the gayest pose I've ever seen. We get in closer on that. Is that possible? Oh no, don't arrest me. Like who stands like that? Can you guys see that? I don't know if that's close enough. Oh, see, did I break the law, officer? Look at it. I mean, no guy wears cut pants like that other than maybe George, okay? With maybe a hole in the booty area. That's just... Caroline has bikini pics? Since when? I don't believe you. You're baiting me! Jason, actually, you know, Jason would know, too. Jason would know if Caroline has bikini pics. I want to see. In videos posted on the operation or of the operation, U.S. Postal Service and IRS agents are seen arrested. Are you serious? No way. I swear it sounds like I made that up. I did not add that in there. That's a real thing. I just picture Trump. Pete. Yes. Trump's on the phone. Pete Hegseth. Pete. For this operation, is Cash behind you? Hey, Cash, how you doing? Hey, Cash. Pete, I want everybody there. I want everybody arresting everybody. Sir, do you really want everybody? Yes, Pete, you heard me, you son of a bitch. I want IRS criminal investigators there. Yes, I said the IRS. And Pete, are you sitting down for this one? Petey, I know you hear my voice. Mr. President, I'm sitting right next to you. We don't have to do this. Pete, shut your mouth. I want the U.S. Postal Service. Trump has the fucking Postal Service. Fucking amazing. Making Postal Service great again. God, that was the gem I needed. That's why you read the articles, and that's why we go a step further than a lot of other outlets do, folks, because there's always hidden gems. There's always the gems in there. Trump is using the freaking postal service, wearing the short shorts and the shirts that we all know, going in there beating the crap out of people, getting dirty. That's something I'll keep the postal service around for. Going from licking stamps to just arresting people at nightclubs. Hell yeah. DEA acting administrator Derek Maltz previously said, not to be confused with a malt shake, said Colorado has become ground zero for some of the most violent criminals in America. You want to know why? Because Colorado is a blue area. It's blue, just like Los Angeles. One official blamed the blue state's leadership. Oh, well, I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, look, the leadership is, in a sense, doing the will of the American people because the American people in Colorado voted for this crap in the same way Los Angeles does. And that's why, what do we always ask in interviews? When somebody's complaining about the homeless crisis or Gavin Newsom in a deficit and just blew billions of dollars and in some cases lost billions of dollars, or what we know of millions, all those things that are caused by Democrat-run areas, nobody ever asks the question. Listen to that person moan and complain saying, hello? Yeah, who'd you vote for? Who'd you vote for? Because the moment they say Democrat, I voted for Gavin, but I messed up. Oh, we had a recall. You didn't vote. You voted for him again then. I mean, you love taking it, clearly. I don't want to hear any of your moaning, complaining. I don't. If you're a Democrat and you're complaining about your leadership in your state, which, by the way, I talked to a couple that was from Portland, Oregon, that moved to Florida. By the way, I had a full-on 2-hour conversation with them. I was swimming in the pool. Swimming. Complaining about how Portland, Oregon sucks, and they moved to Florida. By the way, they were not Trump supporters, and they were complaining about how North Florida was religious, and oh, those bigots up there, those zealots. You want to move to South Florida because that's where you don't get those types of people, and they're all inclusive. They welcomed us with open arms. Yeah, until they find out that you voted for shit up there in Portland, Oregon that ran that area into the ground, and now you're going to pull the same crap in Florida. So careful, folks, careful. Now, if they're coming from California and they're a Republican, you want to embrace them with open arms because, as I always said, statistically, they're going to be more Republican and conservative than you are. That's just by polling, folks. That's by studies. That ain't anything. They're going to be so freaking hardcore Republican, they're going to make you look blue. And I'm dead serious by that. If you ever meet a Republican from California, you're talking to one, hardcore, man. More hardcore than me, to be honest. So that's what's going on there in Colorado. We have more news to cover, but it looks like we'll either save it for an afternoon show or tomorrow morning. Good to be back with all of you. It was nice to have a break. It was a little bit weird. Like I said, it was the most, it was the longest break I've ever taken, actually, but it was, I think it was much needed. I got my head in a clear spot. I didn't look at too much of the news, which I think is needed for most people. But thank you to everybody. If you're not a member, it does help support the show. Try to become a member over at Rumble. The money does go directly to me. If you don't want to go there, you can go to my website, BaldBrad.com. We have a website, BaldBrad.com. I have some articles here. Clearly, I have not posted an article in a while. I don't know if I got to start posting more. But if you go up to the donation tab at the top right, you can do custom amounts. You can do $1 if you want. You can do monthly, weekly donations. It'll just auto charge, and it doesn't have to be 10, 20, 30, 40 is preferred. But all jokes aside, if you want to, don't feel like you have to. And then we also have a book, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. And if you go here up at the top, it'll give you a link that will take you directly to my book. And would love for you to grab that. It's a great gift idea. With that being said, we'll be back here maybe this afternoon, definitely tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. By the way, Dark MAGA is tomorrow, and that'll be open to everybody. Dark MAGA will be open tomorrow. Yes, I was in Florida. Busy. Was I close to you? Was I close? Yeah, Dark MAGA will be open to everybody tomorrow, so make sure you guys are there. Let's raid somebody. I'm feeling I'm feeling juicy. We haven't raided somebody in a while. I did speak with Alan. Alan is not, I don't think Alan is doing morning shows anymore. I think just Wednesday. So we are not going to be able to raid him, but maybe we should do, let's do Sean. Let's raid Sean today. Here we go. We're going to wait. So Sean is doing looks like he's doing a Mother's Day thing. So we'll wait after that. So if you're not over at Rumble, go over to Rumble. We're going to raid somebody. Helps us plug the show. We get followers through this. And it would be greatly appreciated if you help plug the show over at Rumble. And when you go over to Rumble, I'm going to send you all to Sean's show. They have 103,000 subscribers. So we usually get some shout outs here. But we'll head over there and I'm going to send our audience to Sean's show. I'm trying to wait for their luxury brands to be done, but a great gift idea for Mother's Day, I guess, is coming up. Is Mother's Day coming up? Brad wears Speedos. No, God, you do not want to see me in a Speedo. Speaking of bellies hanging out, holy Lordy, that is some rough stuff for the bellies. This is a long advertisement, by the way. Sean, you got to tighten that up. A long advertisement. It is still going. All right, so let's raid/raid. And I will see you folks later. Take care, Patriots. I'm going to send you over to Sean's show. Here we go. We're coming in hot, baby. We're coming in hot. I'll see you all over at his show. I'll be commenting in the chat as well.